Now, I may be naive like some kind of social justice warrior when it comes to certain things. I do admit that sometimes. But Gamergate is no longer and has not really ever been about anything like harassment. Well, yeah, there is one harassment that hasn't been talked about, and that is the harassment of all the gamers and blaming them for all the troubles and the woes. And even last night we had, well, last night, past 24 hours, we had this face palm of a waste of perfectly good oxygen going, oh, sorry, my Hitler-loving racist statement was just because of all gamers and how toxic the gaming culture is. To you, I can only say, piss off. The gaming culture is not toxic. The gaming culture is anything but toxic. And you blaming your misguided bullshit on gaming is... I don't even know how that kind of logic works. How seriously mentally challenged someone has to be to go and say, even in the simplest of circumstances, I did X because of Y. I know this generation that we have now, and I do say generation, I mean anyone that is pretty much younger than I am, that have no idea what the Pentium 1 or Pentium 2 MMX core was, which I used when I was in school. We probably put sort of a distance and kind of a time frame for people to guesstimate how old I am. But yeah, we were using turbochargers on our computers, so you could go from 33 to 66 megahertz. If it was even that high. It could just have been hertz, I don't know. Computers weren't really fast, but they did the job. Now, blaming something on something else, I know that we humans have a tendency to not want to take responsibility. Not ever. Very few of us actually dare step up and say that they own a project or a task or an action or something they've done. Very few people do that, even today. And I shall probably preface this by saying that I feel like I've stepped into some kind of alternate reality after going out or coming out from university. As soon as I went out from college, and I did grow up in Sweden, so I went to basic school, so sixth form and all that, and then college, which is sort of mandatory. You go from school from 7 to 18, there is really no choice you have as a kid. You are doing school between these times. And the only optional bit is whether or not you want to go to university, and in Sweden all of this is paid for. Government pays you to go to school. If you go to school as a kid, your parents gets money for you to go to school. So it's kind of like a win-win situation and a really big motivation for kids to go to school. That is pretty much a win-win situation when you get paid to go to school and you don't have to pay anything back, because your higher education will bring back money into society one day, sooner or later. And I went out to work life straight after college. When I was 18, I was so tired of schooling, so I just went out to work, to get a different perspective, because at 18 you really do not know what you want to do with your life. Very few people do. And the educations that were offered were quite limited and did seem very politicized. I must say that even then I noticed that there were a lot of available gender studies, even back when I was just 18 and could have chosen like a career path. There was a lot of studies like equality in society and politics and whatnot, and a lot of it was kind of based and focused around on humans and the humanitarian factor of it, but it is nothing that have really ever appealed to me, because it's a simple thing to understand that everyone should have an equal opportunity to start in life, and you should really know that an equal opportunity to start, an equal starting point does not ever mean an equal outcome at the end. But I keep rambling on for too long. I am going to try and focus here on what I want with the GamerGate Aftermath. And this is what I really want from GamerGate. And this is where I say I'm naive like a social justice warrior. I want GamerGate to not only clean up the existing media that covers this. I want GamerGate to also clean up the existing relationship between game developers, game publishers, and the gaming market. And be able to know that they can take a step away. And I think I have the perfect solution for how to achieve this. And it sounds simple and easy on paper or just in thought, and it's a little bit more logistics involved when you really have to start implementing this. But let's follow through on this train of thought I have, share this around with everyone so that people can probably expand from it, because I have a feeling that this may eventually become something really good. And I'm more than happy to be one that begins and helps develop this, but I must say I have very little idea about how to be 100% journalistically integrity secure and all that. I know very little about the journalism part. I know how to produce content, and I think myself as a good person that likes to try and stay and stick to the facts. But I think there is a little bit more required of journalists to try and keep a professional detachment. And to be able to have a detachment from what you're covering, there's one crucial, very important thing that needs to be removed, and that is the issue of money. All these writers, bloggers and everything, and whilst we're getting hints that all these kids that are harassing and bullying their way around the games media, from Kotaku to Sarkeesian and whoever have you, they're being called trust fund babies, but I don't think they have that much money either. There might be some money there, but it may not be enough. And when you know that you have to worry about putting food on the table and keeping the roof over your head, you tend to grey out certain areas where you know you need to versus what you should do. So how do you take money out of the equation? Well, we do have a fantastic and wonderful platform called Patreon here on the internet. And to get this working, this will have to be a little bit more complex than just your usual funding to just a simple individual or something. This would have to be to a select committee or something. Select few people that gets the funding that is being brought in through Patreon. And Patreon offer different levels of, if you give $1, you may be able to join in every year on a big live stream forum and have your words or something. If you pay $5 per project video, whatever, then you get every 3 months newsletter thing so that you're a little bit more in the loop. And you pay $10, then you are suddenly in on like every 2 month Skype group conversation thingy. Now, this is good democracy at play here, and it's a democracy that can be combined with meritocracy, which is exactly what is needed for something like gaming journalism. Because a game should win on its merits, not who you can sleep with. And I'm being quite crude about that, but it's pretty much what it is. Now, if a good game can get the focus because the journalist, blogger, writer, content, whoever you have, can focus on actually taking care and thinking of the game and not having to worry about wine and dine and schmooze and whatever of the developer and everything to get the first early access. And there is a second barrier to this. Money is not the only issue. But if you have, say that we could launch a Patreon campaign, something, and we had 100,000 people backing it. even at such a low thing, say like $10 for an entire year. So every year there's $10 from all these 100,000. That's $1 million. That's a lot of money. And getting 20 people, and I know I'm discounting taxes, but I'm just rounding up. I'm just trying to keep it simple here. 20 people could get $50,000 a year to travel to conventions, to go to places, to produce a lot of content. And at 20 people, if they write 3 articles a month, which isn't a massive thing to do, but it would give you a lot of time to do proper research, proper digging, proper caretaking about things, and really produce quality content. And hey, imagine a job where you get paid $50,000 a year for doing 36 articles in an entire year. That would be your entire deliverable concept. You would still produce a massive amount of good, high quality content. And here comes the best thing, beyond the early access that I'm probably skipped here, but I'm gonna go in on this. You would have a bunch of people that don't have to worry about paying the rent, that can focus, that can sit down, because if you have only 3 projects every month, you have on an average 10 days to give to a project. And if you, like me, someone that works 7 days a week, I work at least 10 to 12 hours every single day, and unless my wife tells me to step away from the computer or step away from my camera equipment, I continue working. I'm sadly that damaged. But take me for an example on this. You would get, during a 10-day, somewhere closer to 80 to 100 hours input to a single piece. And if you have a good backing, like 100,000 Patreon people supporting you, then you have a good reader base. You have people that give you the money to do the job that they would like to see for very small amounts. I mean, $10 a year in this scale, I don't even think there are newspapers that have subscription on that lower price. But let's cover the issue of the developers giving early access. Now, there is the flaw of you would need the really massive user base, and I don't think the low amount of 100,000 paying Patreon people, because you would probably have a bigger base than just that, but 100,000 would probably not be enough. You would probably have to have closer to 1 million people actively subscribing, and then I think the developers would go, we know you have a massive, loyal, and really keen and interested gamer user base. We would love for you to cover our items. We know that we can't really buy you. The only thing we can do is restrict you from gaining early access, but we kind of shooting ourselves in the foot if you have 1 million people behind you. So it would be the voice of the people channeled through one single person. That's what I mean, that there is the flaw, there's the danger of the developers being able to lock you out for a little while, but the bigger the base would be, the easier it would be to get around. And of course, the more people there are, the easier it would be for these few people that would be on the beneficial end, the ones that would get paid to do this. And make no mistake, I'm trying to do a gaming website, and I just look up on all the logistics required to get around to good gaming conventions, to be able to be kept in the loop, to get up to the news subscribers list and everything. There is at least, just to cover a tiny little fraction, a 4 to 5 person job to be able to do some good connection within the industry. And that is barely being able to produce good content, because there's so much to be in the loop about. All the press releases, having time to read through them and everything. But if you can rest and relax and knowing that you're paid regularly, you know when your next paycheck is coming. You don't have to write good about EA's latest flop game. you don't have to write good things about them. And I think an idea like this, and it probably has to be evolved a lot more than I've just been saying here, but an idea like this can probably evolve into something bigger. But my core concept is, if we get something going on Patreon, where that is the only channel this kind of project would be allowed to get funding, it would allow, say, the big game developers to actually put money into it, because it would sort of be them sponsoring, not paying money, demanding that something happens. And you would be able to see exactly how much money each and everyone is contributing with. It would be open, it would be easy access globally, which is also an issue because it's very difficult to find certain information trying to dig through financial records and everything, because something may not be easily available in one country where it's completely open in another country. So Patreon would be something that globally would be easy for everyone to go in and see. There are some persons here, and I think you can actually be anonymous on Patreon, but then that would be obviously something that would be easy to see, that you have 400 people donating the largest chunk of money coming into this project, and suddenly there is, hang on, this is looking a little bit dodgy because these 400 people are remaining anonymous, yet they are contributing with the biggest pile of money to this. And if that would happen, it would be an easy thing to demand that this change, this don't accept this much money, or have a request to lower it. And this is the democracy part of it. Each and everyone that would contribute to the Patreon would get, I'm not sure if we're gonna put it in like a yearly election or something, but put it in that it's a review. Did you or did you not do a good job? And I would say a review like this, I did example say that we got 100,000 people on Patreon paying $10 a year, not per project, not per article, not per anything, $10 1 year, that's all. No more, no less, and quality content to be produced on that money. That would be 20 people getting $50,000 each. And yeah, there are taxes, there are a lot of numbers and variables and crunches and everything, but I'm keeping it simple. Let's put that in half then and say that these 20 would only get 25 per default. The other 25 is up on review. That you get to sit and do something for a year for this, and after that year is up, there is this big yearly live stream or something put in place. Maybe even a convention using a little bit of the money and trying to get people together in a few different locations across the globe. So like be able to sit and really talk and go, was this good? Was this bad? Is this person worth it? And then do the final $25,000 as some kind of measurement of approval rating, saying that did the gaming community approve of this overall? Obviously this is something that might be sensitive to trolling and everything, but the better the job you do to please gaming community, the higher your bonus should be, and whatever money that would be in the penalty stock. So say that they on average get a 90% approval rating. I mean that they don't get all the money. That 10% that is left of the pot is put back into gaming, and you can use that money to develop better networks, help small indie game devs, and saying, hey, we think this is a good idea. We bring it up on the yearly meeting and send the money forward to needing developers and whatnot, and saying, we don't expect anything. This is the gaming community paying you to do something. Congratulations, it's a stipend, it's a fund, it's charity, what have you. And this is why I think Patreon could be the ultimate democracy, meritocracy way forward, and developing a new, extremely powerful and very, very potent tool to prevent future corruption within the gaming community. I've probably been spinning so many train thoughts here, but I hope some of you have taken some notes and might spin on this idea. Please spread it around to people that may be interested in something like this, because I think it's quite possible. but it does require a very large engagement from the wider gaming community. And to be perfectly honest, I would happily pay a very tiny sum knowing that I'm one of a lot of people contributing to having good gaming media. Something that covers it, something that stays focused on gaming. And I'm not saying completely remove the idea of there may possibly be some sexism, there may possibly be some really nasty environments within gaming. I mean, we know the amount of junk that comes out of Japan. Oddly enough, I only know about these disgusting games thanks to the social justice warriors. I would never have heard of them, I would never have picked them up, I would never even have looked in the direction of certain horrible games that have come out of Japan if it hadn't been for the social justice warriors. And this is one thing that I would like to emphasize with a project like this, if it should be truly open and truly for everyone, is to be allowed to talk and think ideas through. But it should be done with a reason and logical approach to it, and keeping in mind that gaming is the most important thing. This is the core. This is what matters. There are tangent things around it, like how stories are told. Is there a better way? Is there a worse way? These things should obviously be discussed, because if you do have an open discussion about what makes a good story game and a bad story game and a non-story game, then you will get better of these in the future. Now let me know what you think of this idea. In short, for those of you that didn't bother reading or listening through all of this, get GamerGate to start some kind of Patreon for a big fun project that is in itself the ones that are paying whoever gets chosen to be journalists, content creator at the front end. And if the ball can get rolling on that, then we have a big base that is paying a few people to be traveling the globe. We probably put some 2-3 in Europe, some 2-3 in America, some 2-3 in Australia, some 2-3 in South Africa, some 2-3 in China and Japan. And it will pretty much be the People's Republic of Gaming, if you like, now that I've mentioned China. It will be the people, the gamers, that will be in control, because it will be them paying. It will also be on these people, on these Patreons, that every year would review and saying, did you do a good job, did you not do a good job? There is a risk of being politicized there, that is very true, but did someone or did they not deliver good articles? Did they do in-depth? Did they do what you expected them to do for having such a fantastic position within the gaming community? Now, I know quite a few people that would probably provide good gaming content, good gaming journalism, because we've seen a lot of them pop up from both Not Your Shield and GamerGate and the live streams and everything we've had here. There's been some good people that would probably be very, very good voices, the very thing we should have up front, because they do care. At least they've given a semblance of caring about the gaming culture. The name is Viperbane, also known as Jim. This is my Viper Politics channel, where I do talk about issues I care about and rant and rave to keep my sanity in check. This has been a more serious podcast episode, and I do hope you spread this one around to other people and get this idea going. I would love to be a part of it. I would love to do gaming full time for a living and be able to really focus on bringing something forward. And I know there are probably quite a few people that have started or trying to start something and thinking there is room, there is place, there is definitely room for improvement. But when you start out, you have zero money, you have zero readership, you have absolutely nothing that really keeps you going except your passion. And maybe that is where it should start, but I think there are ways we can help this move along. And if the real gaming press media, if the current gaming media gets a competitor like the one I've suggested here, you're gonna see a whole lot less of Kucheras, Alexanders, Graysons, Chongs, and you're gonna see a very, very significant shift and them suddenly upping their game, or rather hiring talent that brings an A game to gaming media. Until next time, remember to subscribe, comment, give feedbacks, like, thumbs up, thumbs down, spread it on all your social media channels, and let me know what you think. Peace out.